Thank you to our 4 sponsors for supporting our podcast: Johnny Russell's Art Caterers and Milltown Pies, Alexander Grace Law, Jez and Lisa's Spoonful of Sweets, and SPE Furnishings. Links to their websites are available in the show notes and on our website. Don't forget to subscribe to get all the latest episodes as soon as they're released.
All right, Will.
Hiya, pal. You all right?
I'm very well. How are you? Oh, Joe.
I know. You know what, Jez? I didn't even bat an eyelid. Oh, Joe's just normally tired.
It's the mad professor.
Unreal, that, innit? That hair's looking well and all.
Oh, that's fantastic, Joe. That's fantastic.
Something
Have
different.
you got any pants on, Joe?
Pardon? No, is that what warm in here? I've just got my trunks on.
Prove it.
Lovely.
I'm going to have to take it off in a minute.
Wow, love it. Like Einstein.
She said you look like Einstein. Cheers, Will.
Cheers, pal. What you on there?
Just some home-brewed stout.
Important, that, won't it?
It's not that bad, actually. No, it's only about 4%, so I can have a few of these.
You've changed.
It's the right touch. I get 2 bottles delivered to my house every week.
2?
It won't matter what percentage it is. It'll have little effect on Jez. Can I take this off now? I'm really hot.
No, not yet. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Housecast, Lowerhouse Cricket Club's podcast that we're continuing to do. We're getting towards the end of lockdown. I don't know, it seems about lockdown 12 or something, but we're getting towards the end of it now. And some light at the end of the tunnel, we'll be getting some cricket on. So without further ado, we've got a fantastic guest on this evening. Will Driver, badge number 474, lad who played for the club for a couple of seasons, was down as a youngster. He's well known to everyone around the Lancashire area and the Greater Manchester area for his cricket prowess. So we'll come on to Will shortly. Just want to go around the guests. We've got probably the founder of the Housecast as one of the co-hosts today. It's my son Adam Hope. Evening, pal. How's it going?
Yeah, good, not bad. Yeah, obviously I were in the first 2 episodes, but it's come on a little bit since then, hasn't it?
That's right today. Yeah.
Yeah. For those that don't know, I help out behind the scenes. Obviously, I run the website, so post all the technical stuff. But yeah, I help edit quite a few of the episodes as well. They take 3 or 4, 5 hours ago, but I know nearly every host, apart from Jez, because they don't really know how to, has given it a go and done it well. So,
talking of idiots, Joe Martin.
Hello.
Just good afternoon or good early evening. How are you?
Terrific, thanks. Yeah, grand.
Right, if I can just describe to our listeners, we've got this. You all know what Joe Martin looks like 4'2". His hair has gone extremely ridiculous. It's stuck out at all angles. He's sat in his house at the West End room with a tuxedo on, and that is not a word of a lie. Joe, what are you up to?
Well, the guest on tonight I've known for a very long time, and he knows. Okay. I don't want this to sound wrong, but he knows a lot of my intricacies. And eccentricities as well, I guess. And, this was a request. Come dressed as James Bond.
Is that the same tux from when you were 7?
No, this is slightly newer, and it's velvet.
No, I'm all right. Washing my hair.
Hopefully, we've made a slight difference to people during lockdown and given them some kind of amusement.
What a crock of horse shit. I'll just have a supper missed out.
Wow.
Right, we've got a couple of other co-hosts on this evening. They're queuing around the block to come on and listen to Will chat and listen to the questions and obviously offer some questions up. All the way from down at the south coast, Gary Morehouse. How's it going, Gaz?
Great, Jez. It's great. I'm a bit out of sync actually. This time that we've got for today is it's not on. I'm all at a loss. I'm all mixed up with chaos already, isn't it? I mean, what's going on? And Joe's dressed up like he's, going to some sort of big band reunion. I don't know what's going on. You're going to have to lead this one, Jez. I think I'm a bit mixed up.
Yeah, it is a bit confusing. We're generally 7:30. We've had our tea, have a few pints, and have a bit of a banter. But this is a Saturday afternoon stroke tea time one. But I'm sure we'll get through it, Gary.
I'm sure we will. I'm sure we will. It's good to see everyone.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, good. Good. So the other co-host that we've got with us is Joe Beneducci. How's it going, Dooch?
Very good, thanks, Jez. I heard from our most listened to episode star this week. He's claiming Johnny Russell. He's claiming that he's obviously the most popular guest.
Oh, cracky, Johnny Russell! So brilliant that. Thanks very much, Adam, for coming on. And seriously, there is so much goes on behind the scenes in the editing of these and the organising of them. Not that difficult, but to edit them and getting the jingles in, and I know Gary's now always and Dooch gets through it all right, and Joe Martin cracks on getting them all together. So I really appreciate it. There's so much work goes on, but we do enjoy it. You know, it's not a chore for us, but it's worth mentioning why. You know, another reason why I'm really looking forward to this episode. We do have WhatsApp groups when we have a guest coming on. And, you know, we invite the guest into the WhatsApp group and we start talking about, prior to the actual show, of what we're going to discuss and a few ideas and a few messages. And those last 2 or 3 days have just been really funny. In fact, at one point, one of the members of the team on the WhatsApp group said, we're wasting all our bants on the WhatsApp group, we'll save it for the show. So we might have to go through a few other WhatsApp messages. So without further ado, let's get on to the guest. This young lad, an absolute outstanding cricketer. I've known him for a lot of years because he was a really good friend of he still is a really good friend of my son Adam, and they went through coming through the cricket in life with a lot of other good lads that everyone will know. There's, you know, Vishal Tripathi was in that era. Ben Heap, I think, was in there. There were twins, Scott and Matt Doughty, and I'm sure there were a lot of others. Will was a year younger than those, but still played at their level at junior cricket, you know, throughout the town teams and everything else, but went on to other great achievements and played a lot of good class cricket from being a really, really, and it's a great story. I'm hoping that we can get out to the guests this afternoon. So without further ado, I'll welcome Will Driver to the Housecast. How's it going, Will?
Very well, thanks, Jez. Thanks for having me, lads. Good to see you all.
Yeah, no problem, Will. Yeah, it's fantastic to see you. No problem. Thanks very much for coming on, Will. It's you know, like Gary said, it's like it's about 4 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon. This, and I think it's a good it's a good time to get on a couple of pints, watch end of this T20, and have a good old catch up like we sat in a bar. We'll just start off, Will, around your early memories. When you first started playing cricket, you know, you were obviously a really, really young lad. What can you remember about that? Where did you play, and who were in your teams at that time?
Well, I started at Reed. I lived on the same street as Matt and Scott Doughty. So John Doughty used to take me training. We developed a really good junior team there. Chris Holt, Kyle, Matt and Scott, obviously. And we all basically grew up then, third, second, first team before I moved on. Right,
yeah, because I've always wondered about where the Reed connection came from. So it was Matt and Scott's dad then, John, weren't it?
Yeah, Nick Marsh as well. My dad knew Nick Marsh and he was in charge of the juniors at the time.
Yeah, right, I see. So that's the reason you went to Reed. Yeah, that's interesting. So you would have gone there, I'm assuming, at 10-year-old, if younger?
I think I was 8 years old.
8?
Yeah, started playing the under-11s then. And...
Right, fantastic. And then, obviously, you're getting in a town team, obviously making a bit of an impact. And then, which school did you go to, Will?
Habergan.
Right, so you were at Habergan, and then you eventually get into the school sides. And I think that's when I got to know you. Obviously, as a young lad playing cricket with Adam. What were your early memories of that, Adam, through the school cricket?
So it were always, we were St Theodore's, St Ted's. It were always St Ted's versus Abergum. There were no point playing any other teams. So there were Will and Vishal that had always opened for them. Ben were at Abergum, I think. So there were me, Scott and Matt Doughty. We had Leo Howley. You had Jimmy Gray. No, we had Jimmy Gray. There were just loads of lads of the same age that played for either Lancashire League Cricket or Ribblesdale League Cricket, and we just seemed to play some really good games, but get on like house on fire as well.
Yeah.
So our good mates were Scott and Matt, obviously Green Close, where the street cricket was kind of invented, like in our days anyway. And then we were two really good sides that got kind of formed into a town team. So in those days, I don't know if they do it now, Joe. Do they still have town team cricket?
They've now got rid of town team cricket.
So is it more district that they do that?
District cricket now.
Yeah, more district, and I think they're actually trying to get rid of that if they've not already done so.
I think Stan was saying they've got rid of it.
And so it's now sort of league. I think they're more now league-based teams. So Lanksley, Greater Manchester.
The biggest one of the. I mean,
we're blessed teaching at that point, Will. Sorry, Ad. We're blessed teaching at that point, Will.
He was the only teacher I ever behaved for, Bless. Because you're a good cricketer, pretty much.
What about Mr. Allison?
No, sorry. Just Blez, literally just Blez. Never
You
got a
had
bollock
Blez,
enough Blez.
And we had McKennis, so it went quite well. And then because I obviously at Lowerhouse through only ever played for Lowerhouse, apart from when Stan made me play for Belvedere once, and I got a diamond duck opening up, run out first ball at game. But
Any wickets, Ad?
Yeah. I think
I should laugh because you got me out.
I did.
Anvish.
So that's another tale. I think Will and Vishal were opening the batting. We were playing at somewhere like Stackstead's.
Edenfield. Can't forget.
Edenfield. 300 for none, and I got them both out, both with double bounces. There you go.
Unplayable.
Unplayable, double bounces. Good lad. Because I remember watching you at the town team when you were at Old Trafford.
Yeah.
That's what I'm about to say. That's one of my biggest memories in junior cricket is the team was so good. We got to Old Trafford, we played the semi-final at Burnley, I think.
Yeah.
And then we ended up playing either Bolton or Bradford at Old Trafford in the final.
Bolton it were. I think the first round was at Lowerhouse.
Right.
Yes.
You got some runs, Adam.
There's a first for everything. But even like Amy always talks about it because she had to score. So she got to score at Old Trafford. We played at Old Trafford. But good memories, really good memories. We didn't win the final, I don't think.
Yeah, no, I don't think you did. No, I remember that. No, so it's that's fantastic. Joe Martin, anything you want to add at that point?
I went to watch the final at Old Trafford with when Will and Adam played. But we went with Will's dad, Steve.
Right.
And it's not that interesting, but I was also dressed in a tuxedo then as well.
Rightly so, mate. Rightly so. You always wear those.
Always dressed to impress.
We look like Dennis Irwin then. Your hair was
There were some absolutely cracking times, even though we went to obviously not rival schools, but it were always a good game of cricket. And then obviously good mates with Scott and Matt and Will, and that just evolved into nights out as we got to 15, 16, 17 and beyond.
Yeah, and having a few pints.
Well, yeah, and the rest is history, I think.
Yeah.
The one tale I wanted to tell before I had to duck out were once went to the bridge in Burnley. That's when it first opened, and there were me, you, Jez, and Will. And the plan were this was during the day, nip back, grab a pizza, and then me and Will go into town after we've had a couple of leisurely pints with Jez. And Will, you were known if you're not known still for liking your cider. So, look at that special there, 7%, 8%, whatever it were. So we both asked for a pint of cider, and bloke behind bar pulled it out of a jerry can. It was flat as out. And I think 4 or 5 of them later, we goes back for a pizza. I went upstairs to Lou, and I just can't remember anything after that. As the story goes, Corbin goes upstairs. We had a pizza with my dad, and then stayed at my house.
Yeah, me and Will watched Shelley having a couple of pints together.
Quality.
Yeah,
the rest of the story, quality night out. Yeah.
Brilliant. I mean, that's interesting there. So, Joe Martin, you've gone to Old Trafford as Dennis Irwin, James Bond lookalike. How much younger are you, Joe Martin, than Will?
5,
6 years.
Probably something like that, I would say.
32 now, me, Joe. That helps.
All right, yeah. So 5 years.
Yeah, 5 years. So you'd have been, well, probably about 10.
Guess so.
Dressed as James Bond.
Dressed as James.
9. I would have been 9. Let's not go into double figures.
Right, you'd have been 9. I think we need to watch out for family protection coming. We've really got to be careful for Susan and Graham getting a tonight, dressed walking around like James Bond.
Well, they had to embrace it, to say the least.
Maybe we get Graham on in a future episode to give his side of the story.
I'm not so sure that'd be a good episode.
Well, I'm introducing you to music with questionable motives and lyrics, Joe, as we found out earlier this week.
It's a different time, Gary. Different time.
Yeah, clearly.
yeah, we're out today. So anyway, let's get back on to the guests. And it's interesting that you mentioned, Joe, that Steve took you. You know, I was going to talk about Will and his dad, Steve, who's done so much for him. So, Will, you play cricket at Reed. You've obviously getting, you know, it's a good club. It's got some, you know, Kyle's a great fellow, and obviously John Doughty's a lovely man. And like you said, some good players there. The twins were great cricketers. And you're getting to that stage. So then you're starting to look to get to whether there was under 11s or under 13s or whatever. And there was a massive change in your life. Can you talk us through that period of when you were, you know, in your young, I think you were, you know, just a teenager or just before?
Yes. So, my mum passed away when I was 12, you know, which was obviously difficult. But the season following that was probably the busiest season I've had in terms of the amount of cricket I was playing.
Right.
So I'd have representative cricket coming in. I was playing Saturday, Sundays, seconds and thirds. But never missed a game. You know, never missed a training.
No.
You know, it must have been difficult for me, old man. But you know, I got to every session and had a really good season. Sort of progressed. Then that's when I got into the representative sides. You know, the North England training camps.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I mean, it must be difficult, you know, to even talk about it now, Will. And it's, you know, it is so long ago, but I remember it, you know, when that was happening, and your dad just, you know, it's outstanding what he then did and how much he progressed. Because, like you said, that there were significant years for you as a cricketer, and it is, you know, Joe Martin's experienced, and you know, I know of other people who've played at representative cricket or are pushing through for trials elsewhere. It's almost a full-time job to get the children around to these games. And your dad was working as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, I can remember him coming home, just literally dropping his bags off, and we're on the motorway to Old Trafford 2-3 times a week. Yeah. You know, it could be Headingley, Loughborough at weekends. Yeah. So.
Yeah, crikey. I mean, that must have been so difficult at that stage. You know, a young lad to lose your mum, you know, at such a young age. Just tell us about the cricket. How did you then kick on from there? You're obviously a good player before then, but you've mentioned that getting into representative sides and in towards Lancashire. Just tell us what happened for that, you know, for that season there, who you played against, what sort of scores you got, what memories you've got.
Yeah, so that's really when I, you know, started scoring a lot of runs, really, 13s and you know, the North of England tournaments with people like, you know, Chris Walk, Steve Finn playing and, you know, mixing with them lads, and I did well in Reed seconds. It's pretty much every level I stepped up to, I was doing really well. So I guess the cricket was a good way of me, clearing my head, if you will, and just getting on with life. And there was successful season, really. The one after that.
Yeah, fantastic, and all credit to you. And as as we've just discussed previously, Steve's, he's got to be immensely proud of what he did, and the way you were at the time. You're clearly a good talent. I wasn't around you and seeing what you were doing weekly. Did you work hard at your game as well as having that talent, Will, or was it a natural talent that you just really got on with and see ball, hit ball sort of thing?
No, I couldn't get enough of it, really. I'd train every opportunity I could. Yeah. Play every game I could, even to play a county game. I'd then go and play for Reed under 13s in the evening, and I just played as much as I could, really. Practiced all I could. I mean, I'd help me with that, feeding the bowling machine and that. And
brilliant.
Yeah.
Who was in the coaching setup then, Will? Who sort of maybe got you on another level, really sort of started opening things up to you that you wouldn't, kids at that age sort of don't usually consider?
I reckon the biggest influence around then was actually when I would train at Reed, because Peter Sleep was the pro, and you'll know Terry, won't you?
Yeah.
He played at Burnley, and he was the opening batter, and the standard of the training then, you had to be invited to train with the first team, and it was really intense, and you got a good bollocking if you didn't do as they expected. So as good as the coaching was at Lancs, I think it was Steve Titchard, John Stanworth at the time. I think I actually learnt more from training at Reed, because that top four at Reed at the time there's a big Lancashire League influence in it. Nick Marsh, Terry Little, Craig Watson, Sleepy.
Yeah.
Also training with them lads, I think that was had the biggest effect.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, that is that, because I forgot about that era. I've always thought, why were you at Reed? And then obviously you've explained why you first went to Reed. And then I've thought, as we've done the research for this show, why did you stop there? And I'm not suggesting Lowerhouse is any better, or Burnley, or anywhere else, but it's another stepping stone, maybe a touch higher should you get into the senior cricket. But that you've answered the question. Peter Sleep, what an icon. What a fantastic cricketer. When he pro'd at Rishton, he would break every record. He would win games on his own just through his cricketing knowledge. So, and how good is that he's passed, that knowledge on to you? What was he like? Because obviously significantly older than you. I think he's older than me. I think he'd probably be about 38 now. What would he be like? In the sessions and the way. Yeah.
Tough. I don't think he'd get away with it now, to be honest.
Right, go on, tell us some of the stuff he did.
You could be out till it was dark. If anyone dropped a catch in the group, you'd be out till everyone had caught one. Could be pitch black.
Right.
He's just loud, and when you're playing against him, he's so aggressive and in your face. But especially me and Matt, because Matt was a really good young player.
Yeah,
he really pushed us to the point where you thought, this is quite difficult. But looking back, it's the best thing.
And did Sleep have, because he played at Lancashire a little bit, didn't he? Was that before he was at Reed?
I think he was the second 11 captain and coach.
Yeah.
For a while.
Around that time.
Yeah. When he first came to Reed, he definitely was.
About 97.
Yeah. Right.
2000 he first came to Reed, I think. And then he went back to Rishton and came back 2003. And that's when I was playing senior cricket then.
Yeah.
But it's so different now. I'd score a massive amount of runs in the second team to even be considered for the first.
Yeah.
But now it's, I know times change and stuff, but it's pretty easy to get in the first team now. I think it's.
Yeah.
There's not as many players.
Yeah. And that's not that long ago. And it's interesting you say, you look back, you were getting loads of runs and, and you would have been straight in the first team no matter how old you were.
Yeah.
Currently you would have been in there, at 13, even if you're getting the runs. And I'm sure Sleep would have had some influence at Lancashire for getting you into their setup, I would imagine. Did you ever know that?
Don't know. I don't know.
No.
It was, I think, well, me and Tom, Nick's lad, Tom Marsh, we got in together under 11, so I think we were nominated by Nick. But I think Sleepy, by the time I got to 13, 14, I think Sleepy had left Lancs then. So I think there's a crossover really. So I don't think it'd have affected anything.
Right. Okay. Joe Martin, anything around that side of it?
Well, there are just 2 points that Will Will made. So when he talks about players coming into the first team, kind of immediately now, I can remember a situation a couple of maybe 3 or 4 years ago where some of the second team were a bit put out when they moved into the first team because they weren't batting in the top 4, even though they'd only scored maybe 250 runs in the second team, for the whole season. I imagine when Will played in the seconds, that was probably 3 or 4 games at some points.
I think we were sort of the last of that era kind of thing. It's totally different now. No one, you don't have to be invited to train with the first and things like that. But because they're just not the numbers, is it? I don't know other clubs, but certainly Winton now with, sometimes you struggle to get a first team out on a Sunday. So there's not the competition for places, and then youngsters, they're going into the first team on the back of a 30 in the second team, and it's not their fault, obviously, but, it was good for us having that competition.
And it's tough when, I only watch Lancashire League really, and that standard is good. Certainly now there's the 2 leagues, there's some good players. The pros aren't as good as they used to be, but that just gets boring. There's some great amateurs in those leagues now. So the second team, whether they're 14 or they're 28 and they've been in second team most of their life, but they get a chance. It's a massive step up. Whereas, like you said yourself, if you're getting regular away, getting 30s and then 50s, and then you get your first ton, it puts you in a little bit of a good position to get in the first team, I would imagine. Even back then, what age were you when you made your debut at Reed? Well, in the first team,
I played at 14, but it was more, I think, to give me a bit of experience and exposure to it because, as you know, when you're young, I got a bit big for my boots in the seconds, and I think they threw me in to say, well, this is the reality of it. Really, it wasn't until 16 when I played a full season.
Right.
So I had 2 seasons with the seconds when I was 14, 15. I think got 600-700 runs in each, and then. Terry retired, Nick retired, and said, right, now's your chance. You're going to open the batting, which I think's the better way of doing it than feeding someone into bat 8 and, you got a spot. Then I knew what was expected, really.
Yeah, and that's, you mentioned it there, 14, 15 in the second team. Maybe they thought I was getting a bit too big for my boots. That's one way of putting it. Well, I would maybe put it along the lines of, you were a confident player. You believed in your ability. You were no shrinking violet. I didn't play a great deal with you, but I watched you a lot, which is not a bad thing.
No,
I guess
it's a fine line.
But sometimes it is a fine line. Sometimes it can kick you up the arse. So you get in the first team at 16. How did that go? How did those first couple of seasons go in the playing? In the top Ribblesdale League.
Well, I got I brought the club record in my second season, but my first season I fell 1 short. I think Terry Little had the record, which was 800, which I think is ridiculously low, really, for on Reed. But I needed one run to get it, and Mohammed Hafiz, the Pakistan captain, caught me one-handed catch last game of the season. So
really,
So I nearly did it in my first season.
So how many did you just talk us through that season? So the record's around 800. How did the season go? Were you scoring heavily early on in the season? And
I got a 90 the first game.
Right.
Which obviously it helps, and it gives you the belief then that you can do it at that level. So I didn't get any hundreds, I don't think, but I was pretty consistent with 40s, 50s, and I played 25 league games then, so it was. You got a lot more runs season then. But 800 was the record and I got 799. So
how many did you need in the last game?
Teens.
Can you remember?
Teens.
Fucking hell! And then they caught you out for and you're one short.
Yeah, but I remember my dad saying to me, he said, "Take it as a positive. Make sure you just beat it next year." You know. And,
yeah.
Was it a big deal, Will, the record? Was it because we spoke to Blaise about the Lowerhouse record, and he was sort of saying that up until a certain point in the season, he wasn't even aware that it was a thing until he got closer and closer. Was it something you were aware of or not?
It was other people really who were talking about it because of my age and stuff. But you know it's like when you're young, you don't really feel pressure or anything, do you? So
no. Obviously,
I wanted the record; it'd been nice, but I didn't really realise the enormity of it. It was more the other people all on the feet, on the sides the last game, and willing me to do it. And I think a lot of people were more upset than I was, although I was pretty disappointed. But when you're young, I just thought I'm just going to do it next year, and that's again that overconfidence, I guess. And when you're younger, but
and you're 16, exactly.
Yeah, don't want to play it down at all. Like I said, I always thought that record is so low to have on Reed because that is a batter's paradise there.
Yeah.
Small ground, flat wickets. You do face some average bowling attacks in the Rib League. Yeah. But you've got to get them, I suppose, haven't you?
Yeah, of course you do. So the year after, you're then 17. Who's playing then? Like I said, Terry Little, great player, played at Burnley and at Colne, did Terry, and then Nick Marsh at Aki, and so they've all finished. Who's in your side then when you're 17?
Nick still played. It was still a very good opener at that level, although he wasn't perhaps the player he was. Kyle, Matt Doughty, Warren Easton. It became a pretty average team from a really good team because obviously you lose 4 or 5 top players. It's inevitable. And the pro we got in wasn't great. He had good credentials. He was an Indian international, but getting on a bit and wasn't really that committed. So it was a tough season.
But
to be fair, it did help my batting because my role was basically open the batting, just try and bat all the way through, which obviously suited me down to the ground, really.
Yeah, brilliant. So you broke the record that season. What were the circumstances around that? Did you piss it? Was it?
I think it was the first week of August I got it. It was a really good summer. And I was just in really good form. I was playing well at Lancs. I was playing cricket all the time. I was never seems to be out of form.
Yeah.
So just going from one game to another, and I don't want to put the league down, but you can sometimes. I did sometimes come off with a score and think, it wasn't that much of a test. A lot of poor deliveries, a lot of 4 balls, and like I said, good wicket on Reed, fast outfield.
Yeah, but it still needs scoring. Well, it's all right. And you're only 17. You started out in your cricket. I know you play cricket all the time, and you're playing a good tracksuit, in the county setup for Northern England. But it still needs getting. So I'd never thought you'd put yourself down. It's it's an achievement that will even at that age. So 17. How was Lancashire going at that stage?
Brilliant. Yeah, I actually got Lancashire's Young Player of the Year that year as well.
Right.
So I was on the academy. I was in all the England camps, and I had a really good summer. I didn't bowl much then. I was just opening the batting for all my teams, scoring loads of runs. So memorable one that really.
Right, that's fantastic. So when so you're 17, you're discovering going out for a few pints, and social life's increasing. How did your cricket go for the following year? Were you still at Reed when you were 18?
Yeah, and I probably should have gone that winter really.
Really?
Yeah, and Joe nodding. But I they offered me the captaincy, which sort of persuaded me to stay. But looking back, I wasn't ready for that. I think it was their way of getting me to stay, and I should have gone. So obviously, after 1,000 runs breaking the record, it probably wasn't that much more for me to achieve there. We were always going to be a mid-table side, and I probably should have moved on then. And I won't say I lost a year, but I had a good season, but it was a bit of a non-season for me, really. I didn't enjoy the captaincy. I did it at county level. I could obviously do it on the field, but as you know, I'm captain of the first team. It's not all about on the field, is it? I was totally out of it, really, to be honest. And yeah, didn't enjoy it so much.
Right. So that's, I mean, Dooch, we were obviously, I was still playing then, and we were looking around this lad getting all these runs in the Ribblesdale League. What's your recollection of that, and how we not targeted Will, but I think a lot of clubs would have loved him to come and play after that season when he broke the record?
Well, just generally, my recollection is we always felt like he was going to come. His dad was a Lowerhouse member. He was mates with Adam and one or two of the other Lowerhouse lads at the time. There was the Bles connection at school. My recollection was it was just a matter of time, really, as to when he was going to sign for us. Particularly, obviously, as he was doing so well. That might be a bit arrogant on our part, but that's just how it felt. And then the circumstances around our first attempt to sign him was a bit of context. We just won the league in 2005, and after the league, the months after the league had finished, it became apparent that Vishal was going to leave. So let's go and try and get Will as a replacement for Vishal. I don't know how much you remember this, Will.
It's coming back to me.
But we actually agreed that he was coming. I went up to Will's dad's house at the time, which was just off Glenview Road, I think, was it?
Yeah, being close, yeah.
Yeah. And I had the forms with me, left them with him. It was all fine. It was December, it was over Christmas. And the reason I remember this is because whilst I was there, I said to him, we're having a bit of a players get together at the club in the next couple of days. It was the Christmas drink. Why don't you come along? So Will came. I think he went home with his tail between his legs at about tea time. And then after that, I sort of followed it up with a few phone calls. Nothing really happened. And then obviously it came out that he decided to stay at Reed. So it was either Reed had persuaded him to stay, or he came to the Christmas drink, thought we were all dickheads, and changed his mind.
Oh, right then.
Yeah,
your recollection, Will?
Yeah, I remember that night. It wasn't the latter. I think it was the captaincy that persuaded me, because I can be a dickhead with the best of them, can't I? It probably pushed me towards Lowerhouse at the time. I would have gone home at tea time, though.
No, 3 o'clock, I think it was. Yeah, that was what happened in 2005. Obviously, he came to sign a bit later on. But I've actually got a bit of a revelation. I was telling Joe this earlier. We actually tried to sign somebody else that close season, which I don't think any of you will be aware of. A Lancashire League superstar we tried to sign that winter as well. He'd fell out with his own club, and we got wind of it, and we rang him and said, "How would you fancy coming to net with us?" And it was David Ormerod.
Really?
He fell out with Bacup, yeah. I spoke to him, but he didn't tell me on the phone when I spoke to him. But I think he'd already decided he was going to Accrington. Will, you obviously ended up playing with him and knew him really well. You might have heard what happened with Bacup, but I don't really know what happened with him falling out with Bacup. I just heard that it happened. So I phoned Nigel Stockley and got his number and had a chat with him. And he just said, "Look, thanks for your interest. I'm not really sure what I'll do. I'll let you know." And again, next thing I heard, he'd signed for Accrington. So that was another one that tried to sign 2 superstars that winter, and neither of them came off. We ended up with Stuart Grant instead. No offence, Granty, but he didn't really fit the bill of the other 2 lads.
Cracky. So that was 2005, you said, Joe?
It was in a close season between 5 and 6, yeah. Ahead of the 2006 season, yeah.
Right, okay. So where were you at with Lancs there, Will? Because I'm really interested in this side of it, and I know a lot of the listeners are, and I maybe should have asked this earlier. You obviously, as a 12, 13, 14-year-old, want to be a cricketer, want to play for Lancs, want to play for England, want to do everything as a pro cricketer. How did that develop? How did it, how did you clearly didn't turn out to be a full Lancashire county cricketer. So how did that come about in your early years?
What in terms of finishing at Langdon?
Yeah.
I sort of
When you
lost the desire, really.
Think you're going to make it, right?
I don't know. Once the age group stuff finished, I was playing the second team, and I just stopped enjoying those games. I weren't playing with my friends, and you're not really spoke to that much in the second team when you come in, and I remember speaking to my dad about it, and he just said he started playing this game because you enjoyed it. As soon as you stop enjoying it, it's time to stop. And I just didn't really enjoy it at that level, so I didn't really commit that much. Obviously, like you said, you start going out, don't you? And probably a mixture. I'm not saying I would have made it. I'm definitely not saying that at all, because it's extremely difficult. But I certainly didn't give myself the best opportunity to make it.
Right. Yeah. So I suppose you wasn't. You're playing in the second teams at Lancs for a few games.
Mm.
There's no talks about any contracts or anything. And you've really gone away from that and wanted to play club cricket, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Got a bad injury around that point as well. Dislocated my shoulder, and just a few things combined, and it wasn't for me. It just wasn't for me.
Send Morehouse to save the house.